Here we are with a bunch of loud noises in the background.
Like as soon as I said one, it was like right there. I was like, no!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Geek Boot. This is unedited right now for sure. Staying in the second it starts. Welcome to Geek Boots, where we talk about the big green weenie that likes to continue to fuck us, and we tell all our civilian fans about the great big weenie. Kind of like how on the internet, things tend to come back at you, and everyone wants to think Ant-Man can kill Thanos until Thanos uses the Reality Stone and brings Ant-Man to life size, shrinks himself down, and then does to Ant-Man. Because, you know, that's a thing on YouTube now. So, here we are.
Sorry. Have you seen the one where it was like, instead of him going in his Thanos' butt and expanding, just going really, really big and just sitting on Thanos' head and then shrinking so it crushes his head with his butt?
I feel like that's not as hilarious.
I think that would be cool.
Why?
It hasn't been a meme yet. It hasn't been memized, whatever the hell you want to call it, yet. But my friend did say, "Why would you go up the butthole? There's plenty of other locations that are way better and more hilarious." And I paused, waited for him to finish, and he goes, "Right up the penis. Let's do it." And I'm like, "Oh!" So yeah, that's how we're starting tonight's episode, ladies and
Hi,
gentlemen.
everyone.
Anyway, tonight we're talking about Civil War. We've been hyping about this episode for quite some time now because there are certain episodes, case in point, when we talked about Captain America, Winter Soldier. I think we dabbled about it when we talked about First Avenger. And last week's episode, we talked about it a little bit as well. We've been hyping about this because Civil War is the ultimate battle buddy kind of homage, you know, because Bucky, not only battle buddies, but as Russ said in the previous episode, Single Dad has said in the previous episode, they've been best friends since, you know, they were kids. So, obviously, there's a lot of hype for this. We've been talking about it for a while. And finally, tonight, we get to go in depth with this episode. We are doing the usual suspects, the usual questions, and then we'll tackle the debate of which sides we're on. And unfortunately, listeners, it's going to be kind of hilarious because the one person who's not with us here today, who's usually the person who goes against the zeitgeist, is not here, J4. And when I said we should do this in the group chat, he hilariously goes, "I have work. And by the way, I would vote Team Iron Man. That's exactly the team I go for." And I'm like, motherfucker! So
our one debater is gone. So we're just gonna like basically suck Captain America's dick for about an hour. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll give some degree of devil's advocate as best we can, but tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you're just gonna hear a whole lot of hooah, hoorah, and
Captain Love.
And nice butt.
Yeah.
That's what the Air Force likes to say.
Good game.
Jen.
Good game.
Anyway. Let's see. Who would like to start this episode off? The usual questions are as I obtain them.
Small bowl. Cover more.
I love it so much.
Alright, let's have, you know what, we didn't have mine last episode, so we'll start. Impact, the favorite scene, the favorite character, why, and what and where you were doing at the time during the movie came out.
Okay, I'm gonna start from the end first, just because I will forget that one for sure.
Woo, we're gonna Tarantino it.
Yes. No, I'm kidding. No. So for me,
Hello.
Hi. So
Go around.
to say that okay, to miss Captain America Civil War is basically to miss everything that happens in that that entire phase because nothing really connects. It is absolutely central to the super arc plot that is going on. I'm afraid to ask why everybody's giggling, but fuck it, whatever.
Hold on. So the reason why we're laughing is normally some of these episodes, something will happen in the background. Of course, the listeners in the first few episodes don't know, and they hated that. We've been talking about it, but this time, listeners actually got to hear that. She was doing I don't remember the comedian's name, but there's this great comedian who does a lot of literal humor. And so the knock happened on Single Dad's side, and then I went, hello? And then she went, go around, which the rest of the joke is, I don't know what you have on your side, but there is a wall on this side. Go around. And it's Mark something. I don't remember. Mark Hedberg? Hedberg.
Mitch
Mark
Hedberg.
Mitch Hedberg.
Mitch Hedberg. I fucking love him. Anyway, as you were saying, Mayan Goddess,
I apologize for that, but
You're fine.
it was fucking awesome. Go around. Oh, great start so far.
I told you it would be.
I forgot what we were talking about. Oh no, okay.
Oh, me.
So for me, it was really surprising to see these two just really great friends, even all the way through movies beforehand, just really close friends, they were thick and thin, and then to see them them clash the way that they did, and I probably shouldn't be doing my fingers like that, but it's kind of cool to see.
Just putting her index fingers together, which is also an insinuation of two men touching tips. That's what she's talking about.
Okay, but to see them clash and it kind of grew naturally, because you could see their ideals, their fundamentals, and to see it kind of grow, so that it wasn't almost fabricated conflict. That was really great to see, and to see that develop. For me, my favorite scene. I like fighting, so the airport scene to me was really, really cool. Particularly,
more than half of the movie.
Yeah,
see.
I'll narrow it down to me losing my shit at Spider-Man.
Right.
Because he wasn't in for very long, but he made a hell of an impact, and every line he had was just gold. So that for me, all of Spider-Man in the airport scene was just great. What was I doing? That was at that point, I was either rooming with or about to room with a really good Marine buddy of mine. So we had this team of people that we went to all these things together, and we would go to the movies dressed up like prom, because I had never been to prom. So I had this really fancy dress to a superhero movie. It was very interesting. But yeah, so that was me and Civil War.
Wow. Well, all right.
I was still in, by the way. I think I was still a sergeant, by the way.
Well, all right. Sweet deal. Why don't we turn it over to Russ? Single Dad.
Yes, sir.
It's your turn, good sir. Talk about
it is my turn. All right. So, there's a couple scenes in the movie that are obviously very, very essential to the plot. Now, for this movie, one of my biggest dislikes was Baron Zemo. I'm sorry. They could have done so much better with him. I love the character in the comic books. I loved him in the animated series, and the way that they treated the character was just horrific. I guess my favorite scene, and really, I've got to throw it to a friend of mine, and she talks about it all the time. When the helicopter is getting away, and Cap is literally he's literally doing curls with a helicopter and everything like that.
Yeah, tell me more. Tell me more about that scene.
I enjoy the scene, but I think what I enjoy more is the behind the scenes of that scene because
yes.
Chris Evans was on set and he goes, "Can I get my? What do you guys think? I want to take my shirt
I
off."
want to take my shirt off.
They're like, "No, we're Marvel/Disney. This is kind of more like a kid teen movie. We can't have you just doing that." He goes, "Oh no, come on! It would be great. Just look how big I've gotten. It would be great. Come on." Fucking Chris Evans.
Okay, we would have not had
God,
much of a fit.
I wouldn't have had a fit.
I know. I will just say for the listeners and everything like that, if y'all could see our group chat during the week and how many times the words "man candy" were brought up, talking about Cap, yeah, I mean
Yeah.
I definitely knew that this week we'd all be talking about Cap and not Tony.
It's just too
Yeah.
old.
But no, but really, I mean, how they dealt with Tony losing his parents and everything like that. They really tied it all together. And then you see how Tony's being used and Tony's really being manipulated with guilt and everything like that to follow these orders that aren't exactly legal. They're not constitutional or anything like that. For citizens of the country. Obviously, as military members, we know we're held to a higher standard. But at the same time, I mean, we still have freedoms and constitutional rights, which the Sokovia Accords take away, and that's what Captain America was standing up for.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, most of them didn't even choose their powers.
Well,
No.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
was just something that is given to them and handed over, or they were born with, or there's all these things, and then for it to be like, oh, now I have to tell the world who I am.
Right. Well, it's hilariously, this is, I mean, mostly a joke, but the reason why I love this meme that had come up on the internet was because it's so fucking accurate. They take the whole scene of "we need to be reined in," and Tony goes, "We need to be reined in. Remember what happened in New York?" And Cap's response, "Yeah, the suits tried to nuke the city." Okay, but what about what happened in Washington D.C.? The suits took over and used new helicarriers that you designed. Okay, but what about what happened in Sokovia? You mean the genocidal AI that you created that tried to destroy the world? And there's just this pause between them, like, because he's making all these points, and he goes, "Look, we need to be reined in." Cap finally responds, "You fuck up," and suddenly it's we. Seems like it's you that needs to be reined in.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I will say, all the scenes with Spider-Man, the dialogue that he has, the lines he has, with him and Bucky and Falcon, comedy gold.
Yeah.
Loved it. Is that a metal arm? That's awesome.
Yeah.
well,
This is your first fight, right? Because we don't really talk this much.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then I'm going to jump forward a little bit, and then when they went into Homecoming, and he's watching his little home video of that at the beginning, and so you see like a different angle of the fight from
videotape
from the
whole
movie.
entire thing on his phone or whatever, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, good, that's great."
But
I think it's almost metaphorical too, in so many different ways, because the actor himself, Tom Holland, can't shut up. So to have video footage of a fight in the movie that he's not allowed to have, that's just perfect.
Yes.
I don't know if I sent you guys the meme of like the cat with the hand over the baby, and like the cat is Marvel Studios and the baby is Tom Holland. We're like, yep, they're not letting him in front of any cameras until it comes out.
Yep.
No way. There's no way.
Or Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, I was retired at this point when the movie came out. I just doing my thing, going to school, and learning how to be a photographer. So.
Nice.
You learned pretty fucking quick because your shots have been amazing. You just came out with what was it, the Marvel Women photo shoot that you did?
Yes, Monday. Today was the first official pick released on Only Alley Cat's page. There's going to be so many. Just behind the scenes and solo shots. I took about 500. So those will be coming out here shortly.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I apologize, but there's some listeners that are tuning into the chat, and one says from Yo Jaeger, Civil War was one of the worst MCU movies. It took a dump all over the comic it was based on. Had the Civil War comic not existed, I would have loved it. Fiber Optic 16 said Tony was trying to solve the unsolvable problem, how to protect everyone from everything, even the unknown. Not an easy problem to solve.
Well, I mean, Civil War is just like how we talked about when we talked about Age of Ultron as well, which is another movie that hyped us all about Civil War to talk about it, was because Scarlet Witch, her comment about it was, you know what Tony's like. He'll try to fix the problem, even if it means he's going to end up breaking everything in the process. He tries to do too much. That's exactly what ended up happening with Civil War, both comic book and the movie. Is just he tried to do too much, and it ended up going totally awry. Of course, I agree with the initial comment. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed parts of Civil War, but I agree. Like, it pales in comparison to the comic book style. It pales. There are certain aspects that I enjoyed out of the movie, but the comic book was way better, honestly. But anyway, so that I don't jump too ahead, Cosplay Enemy, it is now your turn.
Yes, I can kind of jump off of that. Anyways, with the whole movie being, it was probably the one movie that I was not excited to see. It was the one movie that took a lot out of me to sit down and watch it and to force myself to, because it makes me so uncomfortable when they do the whole good guys playing against each other in a movie. And just actually sitting there, I get really uncomfortable. It's like watching, your best friend and, somebody else's husband making out, and you're like, crap, I can't do anything about this. And you're like,
we can
go into military stories about that. Hold up a second.
Yeah, hold on. All of us have known people that have gone on deployment.
It's actually funny that you've said that now, because I'm watching you. Because, listeners, we do webcam chats while we're recording, and I'm just seeing her, and she is moving around so much in her chair. Her skin must be crawling just having to.
She's very uncomfortable right now.
Yeah,
even talking about it.
Seriously.
I just figured it was because of my pillow, but that works too.
Yeah, your pillow doesn't make me uncomfortable. That only makes you uncomfortable.
Oh, shit.
Or does it make me uncomfortable?
No.
We're kidding. Oh, man.
No, I forced myself to rewatch it for this podcast too, because I only ever watched it the one time in the theaters.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, I'm not gonna remember any of this. And I love it when they introduced Spider-Man. That was like the one thing that made me so happy to go see the movie, because everybody.
Spider-Man lover was excited about the Spider-Man scene. That's
because you love Spider-Man.
Surprise.
And I was really disappointed in Black Widow when I saw which side she was, where she was going at the beginning. And I was like, why? This makes no sense. Makes no sense for who she is. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then once it went through, and then I was like, okay, I kind of see-ish her point, because that probably would have been if that really would have happened, than me, where I would have been like, I want to keep things clean. Let's just follow. Let's just do this until you realize that it's not working.
Yeah.
And then, okay, something different has to happen.
Yeah.
And then be like, all right, no, I can't be a part of this anymore. Because that's probably more of what I would do.
Like Red Dead Redemption 2. If anybody, this is of course something down the line when we get into video games, if we get into video games, but the whole storyline of that game is exactly Black Widow's take in Civil War. She's a part of one thing, and then she realizes she's seeing something new and decides, you know what? No,
that's not what I signed up for. This is not right.
This isn't right. I've decided to do something completely different, and the rest of everybody else is like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
really." And the fact that you don't wake up and realize it either really sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
so
probably my absolute favorite was between her and Hawkeye in the whole. Are you
right.
gonna hurt me? It depends on how much you're gonna. Oh, are we still friends?
We're still friends after this, right? Depends on how hard you hit me, and then they continue fighting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I loved Clint Barton throughout the majority of the thing too, though, because even though he was helping the fight, he was still trying to be, friends with everybody a little bit.
He
He was
was
being
still trying to
sarcastic.
be very civil. He didn't want to be like this.
He was
thing
fighting
that-
Black Panther, and he goes, "We haven't met before.
I'm
My
Clint.
name's Clint." And he goes, "I don't care." And they start fighting. He's like, "Oh, okay."
He's like, man, okay, we'll come back. Put a pin in this. We'll be back. We'll come back to this.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
He was like the one person who could see it all. Like he knew that yes, this is gonna happen. We're gonna have this big fight. We're gonna go through this, and then
Like
We'll
tomorrow,
his comment.
and then down the road, we're gonna be all friends again.
I leave for 5 minutes and it all goes to shit. Like, I fucking loved him in that. That was my favorite line, because I feel like that sometimes when I've been a part of groups and I'll walk away and it all goes to shit and I'm like, I'm sorry. What the fuck? Like, yeah.
That's like me when I see like two cosplayers getting really like heated at a convention, and they're like, "We're never talking to each other again," and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
That is everywhere too, by the way.
Cosplay.
Yeah. Yep. No. Some people take it way too seriously, or some people, and this is going to be super politically incorrect to talk about openly,
Okay,
but
let's go.
I feel like a lot of people tend to take the fact that they're on social media and because they're part of Facebook groups or they're on Instagram and have X amount of followers that all of a sudden they have to take it too seriously, and they need to take a minute. I know.
What?
So anyway,
I got a big head, I hit that milestone.
It's a big, beautiful head. Shush.
And then I was just like, I'm so better than all of y'all.
You're not wrong. No, just kidding.
I have no position
hate you
to say
too.
anything. I have the least amount of like followers or
No,
whatever.
you don't.
But,
I
wait,
hate,
yeah, I do. You have
no,
more than me, don't you?
I hate to put him on the spot, but J4 is not very active on his Instagram. He only has like 500 followers.
Oh, well, he's also like working.
Yeah, no.
Like
yeah.
it's understandable.
Like every time there's drama, Jake's like, this is why I stay out of things on social media a lot. I don't want to be a part of the drama. He goes, I only ever really use my Instagram to communicate with commissions I'm about to make props for.
Sometimes you get dragged into drama without even knowing it.
That is
That's
true.
so true.
Mm-hmm.
But he gives 0 fucks and will state his opinion and then straight up tell you, I don't hate you, but if that's the way you want to go about it, that's your business and your prerogative.
Yeah.
He's
That's
cool.
what I love about Jake so much. Anyway, I think you're
Jake's
still
gonna listen to this podcast and be like, "Are they talking shit about me or are they complimenting me?" I'm not sure.
No.
We will never tell.
So yeah, okay. I guess it's my turn now.
That's okay.
So let's see. Favorite character? I'm gonna tell you right now. Honestly, there's a lot of characters I loved in the movie, but I was obviously Team Cap from the get-go because I read the comic book before I saw the movie. But I appreciated a lot of things. God. So, favorite scenes. I'm going to say scenes because there are moments throughout the movie, little captured moments, that I enjoyed the most. I did enjoy the fight scene at the airport, but the fact of the matter is, the comic book, you open up the pages and both pages are covered with pretty much everybody but the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants fighting each other, and it's just so beautiful to watch this art here. And then you get like, I don't know, 10 people fighting in an airport, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. The fight scenes were fine, but it's just like, it could have been so much more, but it is what it is. So to take it back, I appreciated, I really appreciated that it felt like Paul Rudd was very genuine in his character as Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, coming out of the van going, "Oh my God, you're Captain America!" And he was just like, "Ah, you!" Like, and they memed it too because they were like, Paul Rudd embodies what all of us would be like if we met Captain America.
Yeah.
Like,
so true.
seriously, I fucking loved it. I also really appreciated, this whole thing is going down, and people are obviously siding with Captain America because they see which side he's on, and his point of view, and they also are doing kind of almost a blind battle buddy kind of mentality, which can be both good and bad. Because I really don't think Hawkeye truly was there for all of the fight that was there, because honestly he was just really trying to be with Captain America, because he was like, no, I'm sorry, I have fought alongside him, he is now my band of brothers, I will not abandon him for whatever thing you want me to do. Sorry, I'm not going to abandon him. That's what I truly felt out of him. And I appreciated the brotherly moments when it came down to Bucky and Hawkeye and Captain America, because Cap was sitting there with Carter, and they're flirting a little bit, and he looks back at the car. They're both looking at the car like, "Good job, man. Good job. Yeah, I support this." And then they, they actually, they're small scenes, but I actually appreciated the small moment in the fight scene more than Spider-Man himself, when he's sitting there with the web on and he controls the bird to come over and grabs him, takes Spider-Man out, and Bucky goes, "You couldn't have done that earlier," and he goes, "I hate you." Like,
Yeah.
I loved that part a lot more than most of Spider-Man scenes. Don't get me wrong, I appreciated Spider-Man, but that alone was just hilarious. I fucking loved it. And then, yeah, just again, I really loved Hawkeye. The whole I leave for 5 minutes and it all goes to shit. Like, I fucking loved his attitude in the whole thing. That was priceless, very perfect. Um, and again, obviously, as we've been hyping it up, I really loved this whole dynamic of the battle buddy mentality, to not just not leave your battle buddy behind, but acknowledge that, hey, yeah, he screwed up in the past, but whatever you're blaming for now is not him. I guarantee it, and I'm going to defend him, even if it means punching my way through, to quote the movie a little bit itself. And the movie embodies a lot of fights that end up happening with groups and communities. And to me personally, it was a lot of the military versus the non-military aspect, because I have personally bear witness to a lot of civilians sitting there kind of like getting this mentality of, once they've burned the bridge, there's no going back. Whereas in the military, even if the bridge gets burned, they look over and they go, let's give this another chance and see if we could redeem and fix this and try to rebuild. That's the way I see it. I understand that it's not always the case, because there's billions and billions of people on the planet, and not everyone's going to be like that. But where I'm at, where I'm living, that's exactly how I see it. And I loved Civil War because it encompassed that. And I got to kind of live vicariously through this movie going, oh, thank God, I'm not alone. Captain America sides with me, thank God. Um, but overall, though, I did not like the movie, because much like Single Dad said, the actual villain, nobody remembers. Nobody remembers the villain, the actual villain of the movie, because everyone's too hyper focused on Tony Stark and Steve Rogers duking it out. Which, actually ending it, my last favorite scene was, because it was taken out of the comic books, was Tony blasting the shield and him hitting it up, and it's just this big old slow motion moment. That moment is tried to play homage to the comic books, and I actually really liked that. So that was it for me. I was in the National Guard. Nothing super exciting around it, but that was it for me. Was that yeah?
The whole discussion in between in between Tony and Cap in that moment as well. I mean, where Tony's telling Cap that he doesn't deserve the shield, that it's not even his, that it's his father's shield, and it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier, with Tony having this guilt and this angst over his parents being murdered, and finding out that Bucky did it. Well, Bucky was the technical,
the host body,
the weapon, the weapon that was used, for the crime. But he's not the one that he's not the mastermind. He's not the one that perpetrated it. Again, I mean, it's just this symbol, and Cap's shield is this symbol, and then he's like, you know what? Fine, screw it. I mean, this is something that has been part of him and been such an iconic part of his character for movies, and he's all right, fine. You want it? Done.
You can have it.
Yeah.
Because it was not about the shield. And and he didn't want to burn bridges with him either.
No, of course not. Like, he didn't want to completely... I mean, the scene embodies itself when Tony... I mean, Tony was... See, this is the difference, is that Tony, from the comic book and the movie, that I did kind of appreciate, because after I read the comic book, I was like, fuck Tony, I will never like him again. In the movie, he actually does his research. He goes, crap, I was wrong. I have to go help out my friends and make amends. Of course, that all got shot to shit when emotions struck. But, he was like, no, I realized I was wrong. And he goes, you seem a little tense. Well, it's been a long day. Look, I got the facts. I was wrong. I'm sorry. And then Bucky still got his gun aimed at him. Are you kidding me? We're making amends here. We're bridging gaps here. We're fine. Can you lower your guns? Come on now. Like, I loved that. But yeah, it was. Yeah. Tony didn't like. He was bracing for impact. He wasn't gonna throw the first punch right there in that hallway. He was. I'm gonna wait to see if Tony's gonna fight me. But if he's here for something else, maybe I'll hear him out. Because Steve Rogers didn't want any of this conflict. His goal was to clear his buddy's name and then potentially stop some evil plot. So,
I will say this, and this is kind of going off of one of the comments from one of the viewers. He says, just because someone is my friend doesn't mean I won't beat the shit out of you for the greater good if necessary. There have been times where, like, kind of that battle buddy mentality where, like at the bar, you have, like, your one guy friend who's way too drunk and is trying to start some shit, and you have to, like, drag him out and kind of have to, like smack some sense into him. Like, I've had to slap somebody sober once because he was doing some stupid shit. Right. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm like, I understand you're going through some stuff, but I'm still there for you. I know there's good in you. And that does kind of emulate in Captain America's treatment in his defense.
That's also a huge difference, again, why I also disliked this movie, because in the comic book, in the movie, it was, I'm gonna slap some sense into you. It was that was definitely it. I mean, even Tony Stark was like, I'm trying to make sure you don't tear the Avengers apart. Even though Cap's like, okay, but your way would make it so that I can't have my peace and everything would be ruined. Like, I can't do this. I'm sorry. I just don't see any other way. Meanwhile, in the comic book, Tony Stark was straight up being a total dick. I'm sorry. There's no other way to put it. He was sending his friends to a prison on the moon to keep them off of Earth. He straight up started this initiative that said, you either join us or you go to jail. And Captain America's response was, where's my other option? Like, I don't want to just fight for you, and I don't want to go to jail just because I don't want to fight for you. Why can't there be an option to retire? Why can't there be another option? Because you're not giving us any freedom at all here. That's the huge difference between the literature and the film. And I feel like because Tony was doing that's a definite case of Tony's being a dumbass, burning bridges and deciding to not look back. Whereas in the movie, he decided to try and rebuild and goes, oh shit, I fucked up. So, yeah. I agree with the sentiment on that comment. Anyway, moving on. It's time for us to all give our takes on why we choose Team Cap, and we will just try to play some degree of devil's advocate and voice some Jake might say, I guess.
Channel our inner Jake to get some
Right? And
some Tony out.
I'm gonna take it away again because I just purchased a Captain America costume. So Captain America will be starting up this weekend, so that's gonna be fucking amazing. So I'll take some photos and make those a part of the advertisement, of course. At any rate, I choose Team Cap obviously for, I think it's been stated here, and it's probably going to be a redundancy, but the freedom of choice. I appreciate Captain America's character in the sense that, yeah, it's a little, it's on a moral compass level, but it's like, you know, if he sees something going the wrong way, he just can't ignore it, kind of thing. And that's what I love about Captain America is if he sees the wrong thing happening, he has to step in, and I love that about him. It's kind of to a degree it could be his worst enemy, but I love it about him. Love that it happened in this movie, and a lot of what he was doing and embodying, I appreciated. So that's why I choose Team Cap. Because even though, unlike the comic book, there was kind of a difference with Tony, however, you do have Thunderbolt Ross, who definitely was all about it. I mean, case in point, not to jump ahead, but Infinity War, that scene where they come back and he goes, arrest these men. And I'm sorry, but if I was a leader in Thunderbolt Ross's position, and I just watched Tony Stark vanish and some alien invaders came by, I'd be like, look, I know some shit went down, but we could use your help.
Yeah, please just take care of that.
But instead, Thunderbolt Ross is an asshole. So, so I vote Team Cap because I'm super military. I love the army. I love Cap and he's representative of the army, and I love the aspect of freedom. So that's my take. Why don't we toss it over to the Marine real fast? Why don't you go ahead, Mind Goddess, give us your take.
I gotta go for Victory Me. I'm sorry.
For
Team
what?
Cap.
Yep.
Team Cap. Kind of one of those like I can't leave my buddy behind. That kind of mentality, that for me rings so true on so many levels, and it is kind of, yeah, you never leave a Marine behind. That's very much a motto for us, and so like kind of seeing that emulated on the big screen was really cool for me. And yeah. Chris Evans is hot. I'm just saying. Hi.
No, hold on.
Like, how could you resist?
That's cosplay Genome's take, so you can't say that.
Okay.
Well, she already stole my Spider-Man.
I'm sorry. I'll put it this way. Great minds think alike.
Cat, so, you know. It's all right. You can just be me today.
Hot guy thief.
Oh, man.
Is that it? Got more?
That's pretty much it. The never leave a Marine behind rung true with me, and damn, them muscles, come on.
Oh.
Okay. That's all I got.
Single Dad, you're up next.
So one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn growing up through the military is there's two ways to do things. You can do things right, or you can do the right thing. And there is a big difference between the two of them. Tony is trying to do things right. He has orders. He feels an obligation to follow the orders. Now, leaving his parents' death out of it, leaving all that other, leaving everything that he did to basically cause the situation that he's in, out of it. Just looking at it from a broad picture, you have a government. You have orders, and obviously he wants to follow these orders. He feels so deeply about this that, and obviously he is willing to sacrifice everything that he is and he has to make sure he's doing things right. because he wants to make sure that it's taken care of.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Cap is the one that wants to do the right thing. All right, and we've all been there. We've all had those orders that we've been told we need to follow, and say, you know what, you just need to suck it up and you need to do it. And it's like, no, this is wrong, and so it's got to be one of those things where we as military members can appreciate where it comes from, and this moral dilemma that both of them are going through, this conflict that both of them are going through. So I would definitely say, in different parts of my life, I definitely would have supported Iron Man. I would have supported. I've been Team Tony. And then at other points in my life, I would have definitely said, yeah, Team Cap, because you have rules. They're here to keep us safe. They're here to make sure that we have society and we don't just fall into anarchy. But at the same time, we also have a right and a duty to challenge those rules and challenge that authority when that authority is when that authority is being abused. As I'm sitting here talking, my 11-year-old is actually giving me the proper grammatical terms to use.
Yes.
Thanks, bud.
Done right. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, the boys are here tonight. Everything like that. So they're not as active this evening.
All right. Well, cosplay Jenemy, it is your turn.
Ooh, it's my turn. Well, I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what Single Dad said about the whole military in me wants to be like, oh, if orders have come down, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna follow that. But at the same time, as going into the movie, knowing all the background and everything, and knowing everything that's going on, and then looking at it and saying, oh wait, but it is not really the right thing. I see they're trying to do something which is better than not doing anything, but that's not really the right thing. You can't take civilians and make them follow rules.
Right.
Just because they happen to have powers. I mean, they locked Scarlet Witch in a compound just because she didn't agree with him. And so you look at these moments and you start to watch that and you're like, wait a minute, that's not right. I mean, I went into the movie Team Cap all the way because I already kind of knew what was going on. But no, not that reason.
Oh, that's later. Okay.
Just because he's hot doesn't mean I'm going to follow him to the end of the world.
I don't know. These last couple episodes, I would beg to differ.
Hey.
He's hot, and then...
Yeah. The first thing that comes out of your mouth is he's hot. Eye candy, I believe, is what you called him.
Man candy.
Man candy.
Man candy.
Sexy man candy in the chat.
Yeah.
I guess what stays in the chat doesn't stay in the chat. Goes in the chat, doesn't stay in the chat, does it?
Oh, no, that's awesome.
Miss. Okay, for the record, did you guys play my sick audio?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Totally.
Come on, that is off the table now. That rule has sailed away.
Well, hold on. You know balls me.
That is true.
Yeah.
He can't turn down the no balls.
Yeah.
We've established this.
So,
anyway.
Anyway, that's why I kind of identify in that movie with Black Widow, completely. That would be. So, yes. Can I just be Team Black Widow on this one?
You can. It would help, because so far we've got an entire cast of Team Cap, and the one guy who's Team Iron Man isn't fucking here tonight!
So, what I'm saying is going into it, if I was in their situation, going into it, then yeah, I probably would have started off as Team Cap, because it's the easier choice. But it is giving up freedom, and it's giving up a lot of things, and then you watch people giving up things or not giving up things, and then they're forcibly giving up freedom.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute, this isn't right either.
Yeah.
I don't really blindly follow wouldn't really blindly follow Captain America because of his relationship to his friend. I get his reasonings, but as a bystander watching it, it wouldn't be what I would want to do. Because I wouldn't have that same connection with his friend, even if I understood why he was doing it. At least not until much farther down, halfway through the movie.
Yeah, I will say this from a militaristic standpoint, being Team Iron Man makes total sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, absolutely.
That's the one thing. You sit there and you're like, oh, I mean, not as a Captain America, not as Captain America. As Captain America, militarily, that makes sense. But if you're not Captain America, having that situation in front of you as an outsider, then yes, Team Cap makes sense. Or sorry, Team Iron Man makes sense.
Yeah, because like as far as Team Iron Man goes, like I remember like being like younger in the military. Like, you follow orders before asking questions. Because, like, sometimes you didn't have that chance to ask why, because otherwise you might get shot, kind of thing. So if someone tells you, hey, like, we're going to do this, it's like, cool, tell me where we're going, let's go now, kind of thing. And so, although all of us here are Team Captain, because, like, Team Iron Man makes equally as much sense, even though none of us have chosen him. Like, it does make sense, because it's like, okay, it's for the greater good.
It's, I guess, through what Single Dad has expressed, if we were to look at it militarily speaking, it is, Tony Stark is when you're early in the military and you're always following orders, and then Captain America is more of you're seasoned, you've got the experience, and when they tell you to go knock in that door, but you know what's behind it, and you're like, no, go fuck yourself, I'm not going in there.
No.
Like, tell you what, I'll kick the door in, but I'll throw a grenade in, because I ain't going in there. Like,
you know what this just reminded me of? Do you remember the Clint Eastwood movie, Heartbreak Ridge?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Captain America is Gunny.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
like,
I love that
we're gonna do this
scene. Yeah, that near-ending line when they're sitting up there. He goes, "I gave you orders to wait," and he said, "We're Marines. We're not paid to sit around and wait. We're paid to improvise and move forward." That was awesome, and I supported 110% because I was fortunate enough to have leaders around me who, the reason why they pushed us was to push us. Not only to ask questions, but to say, I have a better method. Let's fucking do it this way instead. And fight for it. A lot of my units, I had to fight for what I wanted because I needed to prove and get what I want. Not just make it happen. I needed to fight for it. That was honestly a blessing. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had one little spat with my command when I was active duty. And it was really dumb. But I was going to stand behind it because I could. And and basically, it was a complete fight over a reflective belt.
Were they fresh out of, like, TRADOC rules from, like, basic IT? And they're like, you need your reflective belt before coming through this fucking gate, motherfucker.
No. It was, I worked night shift, so reflective belts were mandatory. And I worked on the flight line. So those are things we always had to have. Well, when I deployed, I decided I was going to be a girl for the first time in my life because I was surrounded and everything was how I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be in uniform all the time. I had my hair pulled up. So I was like, that's the first time I started wearing makeup was when I was deployed. Yeah, because I was like, I am going to be a girl. I'm not going to sit here. So I ordered online a pink reflective belt. And by the end of my deployment, I was known as the girl with the pink reflective belt. Like, I worked on the flight line, so I basically caught airplanes as they came in and left. I had the paperwork and that kind of stuff.
So first of all, let me just start by saying the Air Force has terrible ways of nicknaming people because that is the worst nickname ever. I would have called you Pinky.
Yeah, at least that would have been something nice.
Pinky would have worked.
But people would come in and they would be like the people who worked on the aircraft would be like, oh, you're that girl with the pink reflective belt. So it wasn't like, hey, you girl with pink reflective belt, but it was like people started, Yeah, I know, it's a really long name. It wasn't much of a nickname. It was just a description of me.
I'm still like blown away by the fact that you wore makeup on deployment. Like
Every day, about halfway through, every day. Yeah, it was
so many Air Force like stereotypes are just like exploding in my head right now, and I'm just like,
Yeah, right.
What?
I mean, I worked night shift. I was on the flight line. I mean, it was gone before the end of the day, anyways. But I thought I was gonna,
That's fucking cool. Like,
it was the first time I ever like wore makeup. Like, I didn't wear it in high school. I didn't grow up wearing it. I was not girly at all. The military made me girly.
Oh
So
shit.
think about that.
wow. I am so proud.
But I wanted to be like, I was like, I'm tired of being like treated like a boy, and I was like, I'm a girl. I don't care. I like you people. I want to have this nice commodity and everything, but no. But anyways, I got home back to my home station, and deployments and home stations are nothing the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still wearing this reflective belt because I still worked on the flight line, still had airplanes coming from everywhere. And I was like, hey, maybe I'll see these people. And seriously, it was a reflective belt. I was safe. People noticed it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point of the reflective belt.
So I got attention. Again, point of the reflective belt. But somebody in my command got a wild hair up their butt and decided I could not wear a pink reflective belt because it was pink. Nothing else other than the fact because it was pink.
Does it say in the order you are not allowed to have pink?
No, and that's what I did. I went into the uniform regs. I pulled them out. I fought the entire thing and they ended up ordering the exact same color reflective belt and made a reg. My commander, all the way up, made a reg that our squadron had to wear a specific reflective belt.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I did in my career.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh
my gosh.
Before I left, I went to my first shirt's office with my pink reflective belt and I signed it and handed it to him.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. That is fucking savage to the 10th degree.
And at that point, he smiled and told me, and he said, I was on your side the whole time.
Oh.
So,
That's fucking funny.
speaking of prideful moments, I decided to open up my phone while and check out Instagram for updates, and lo and behold, our fellow podcast member has shaven his leave beard, but he's done this to his face.
I can't see it on your phone.
See it. Oh no!
Wait,
oh no!
Wait. Send it to the thing, I'll post it on mine,
Everybody needs to go look up J4 Props on Instagram right now on his story mode, and just
be there when people hear this.
enjoy. Okay, I'm gonna let the audio click though.
I'm on tractor rail. We go data hunting. Woo! Birmingham. Hey, Ronnie, I'm on tractor rail. We go data hunting.
You said it's in his story?
It's not in my stories. Are you sure you didn't?
Yeah, it's in my story.
It's in his close friends group. I'm sorry, that must hurt all the feelings. So,
and now,
We're not part of
now
it.
you basically told everyone that nobody in the podcast is close friends with Jim.
I'll do you guys a favor, and I'm gonna screenshot this and put this in the home chat. Sorry, Jake.
Yeah. Put it in the. Okay, there we go. All right.
We're good enough to podcast with, but we're not good enough to know about, your
Okay.
personal life.
I'm going to show this. There we go. Bam, baby.
Oh.
Yes.
The mustache is real. Oh God.
That thing is stunning. I'm so proud of him. Oh my God.
No, seriously, I'm seeing this dirt stash. All I want to do is go watch Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone right now.
Now let me play something for you. This is the audio behind said post, And civilian listeners, keep in mind, this is exactly how we treat each other.
Hey, Ronnie, on my tractor rail. We go data hunting. Woo!
Bring my tractor out! We're going gating hunting!
Woo!
So, with that being in mind, being all funny and whatnot, listeners, we are now shifting gears over to DC Comics real fast. I don't know what decision Marvel made or who made what decision, but I have to admit it, I want to flip off Marvel for putting Endgame in April because, honestly, Shazam, next to Wonder Woman, is one of the greatest DC movies I have ever witnessed in the DCEU. The Dark Knight still stands as one of the greatest DC movies of all time. That's not the point, though. So, with that being said, we're going to do a spoiler-free review and then spoiler review to wrap this episode up. I have been waiting for so long because I actually got to watch this on the 23rd on the pre-screening showing. So I'm going to go ahead and start by saying, oh my god. Shazam! Yeah, I love that movie so much. It is, right now, officially...
Is this your Captain Marvel?
Yes. It is 10 for 10. Amazing. I didn't see a single thing wrong with it, honestly. I love this movie so much. It is in my top 3, and that is next to The Dark Knight and Deadpool for being great comic book movies. It's so good. 10 for 10. I loved it. This is, as the review stated, this movie is a role that Zachary Levi was born to play. He did such a fantastic job. And Jack Dylan Grazer playing Freddy, fucking amazing. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Loved the whole thing. Yeah, that's my take. That is my spoiler-free review. Please take yourselves and do not sit there and just say, well, all April Endgame, blah, blah, blah. No, please, for the love of God, go see this movie. Go give it more love so that we can have a sequel and hopefully it won't get washed out by Marvel and its assholeness. And I say assholeness because Endgame was originally supposed to be in May. They moved themselves on purpose into April, which kind of ticks me off because Hellboy is coming out soon, and we have Shazam, and I kind of feel like they both got washed over by Endgame, and that really sucks because these movies, I know Shazam was such a good movie, and it's not going to get the attention it deserves. Anywho, that's my take. Let's go with Ryan got it, because you got her mouth wide open all half the
Because I started choking on my own stuff.
That's how good Shazam was. Cough, 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 cough. Yep. Oh, great. That's great. Is that 10 for 10? You want to cough some more? There you go. Yep, 10 for 10.
Sorry, I was too busy choking on the Shazam dick you just shoved in our mouth. Sorry. No, so for me, I very much enjoyed Shazam. I like that was really great. And I know quite a few weeks ago we had the Captain Marvel versus Captain Marvel debate.
Yes.
And I will say this, I very much while I had some mixed some about Captain Marvel, I still enjoyed it. Shazam, I very much enjoyed it. Yeah, there were some things where I was like, but overall, I had a great time at the movies. It was very heartwarming and awesome and badass at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of hard not to give spoilers. But yeah, overall, they did a great job, and I really hope they keep this direction going with DC because they knocked it out of the park.
Yes, I want to see Shazam in Justice League, which, I mean, in the New 52 he is in the comic books, but we have no idea, and it's not because, like Marvel, where it doesn't tell everybody everything. It's because DC has no idea what it's doing right now. I love it to death, but DC doesn't know what it's doing. I mean,
I could argue for that. I think what DC tried to do is they were like, hey, we need to get on this we need to get on the same platform as Marvel, stat. So they shoved a bunch of shit in the way. or to try and like say like, hey, we're at the same level, but no, they needed to grow organically, and I think they finally are starting to get their foothold.
Yeah.
Because Wonder Woman was great, Aquaman I very much enjoyed, Shazam I very much enjoyed, so I think they're finally like, okay, we've got our own formula now.
And I think I've said this before, real quick. I've said this before. When we were doing, I think, Age of Ultron, or last week when we were talking about the other movies. Marvel's good; it's got its formula, but DC needs to take a page from its comic books. They need to do genre pieces.
Yeah,
in order
they need to
succeed.
find their formula.
Yeah.
Genre films are exactly how it's going to do. Shazam was a family oriented movie. Aquaman was kind of I want to argue almost a political aspect because of the kingdoms and everything that ended up happening with that movie. And then Wonder Woman was a hopeful movie, an
Inspirational film.
Yeah. So anyway, why don't we take it away with our single dad? You're a family man. What did you think of Shazam?
Took the boys to see it. Luckily, they were on spring break, so Friday morning, we went and saw it at like 10 o'clock in the morning as soon as the theaters opened up. Boys absolutely loved it. Not going to give any spoilers or anything like that until we do the spoiler review. I was impressed by it, but again, I was entertained, but it didn't blow me out of the water. That's just my personal take on it. There were some parts of it that I just found cloying. I guess would be the best word for it. And we can talk about that later. We can talk about that in the spoiler parts. But there were certain parts that seemed just forced, and I just they just didn't ring true with me, and I didn't. It didn't take away from the message of the film or anything like that. Where I mean, it is about family. It's about being together, and it's a great message, and it is a good film. But yeah, I'm gonna go with a probably solid 7 out of 10.
Yes. And Cosplay Genevieve.
I really enjoyed it. I had a good time at the theater. My thoughts on it completely are it could have not had any superhero stuff at all, and it would have been a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, they'd had to have other points to it, but just the underlining story was so cute, lack of better words, that that I liked the entire storyline where the whole thing went. Of course, having the superhero stuff thrown in made it even better, but I just really enjoyed the entire storyline itself.
Like the superhero part was a bonus to a good movie.
Yeah, a good storytelling.
Yeah. I just wanted to say spoilers.
Yeah.
I really want to say spoilers.
5. So okay, we're gonna give you a count of 5. If you're still here, sucks to be you. Your life isn't gonna be ruined just because I ruined a movie for you. You should grow up. But here's your chance to turn it off now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. To respond actually to Single Dad when he said earlier, which I loved. It's very refreshing new catchphrase basically. If I've got all these superpowers, why not share it? Because he did what he did, and I was fucking. Oh my god, I love that. I love the movie because, again, I stated this back when we did the Captain Marvel versus Captain Marvel episode. As a kid, when I saw it in the comic books, saw it in cartoons, saw it in some television, I thought to myself, how cool would it be if, as a kid, I just said this magic word and I could basically be Superman? That's fucking awesome. Funny enough, so I'm just going to talk about this a little bit. This was interesting. I really enjoyed the YouTube channel Screw Attack Death Battles. They finally did Captain Marvel versus Captain Marvel, aka Shazam. And through some extensive research in their comic books, they came to terms with the winner actually ended up being Shazam. I was surprised with how they came to their conclusion, but that is who they went with. And they said it's because even though Captain Marvel can absorb energy, magic actually does hurt her a little bit, and she can't sustain it for very long. On top of that, she cannot absorb kinetic energy, and Shazam has been known, and been able to punch someone so hard it creates a black hole. What? I didn't even know that. So I'm just like, what the fuck? But anyway, that was fun to know. So if you're ever wanting to know something, you should go check that battle because they bring up comic books when they talk about it to show the proof of where they're getting their facts from. So that was fun. But overall, I really enjoyed Shazam. Again, top three. I loved Zachary Levi's performance. Some people tried to say that it was really weird watching Billy Batson as a kid be this kind of almost brooding kind of kid. It wasn't always like that. I mean, in the bedroom when he's trying to figure out how to turn, he was still fun and just in the moment. But as my friend, my coworker and friend stated, even if you were the most brooding individual and you said a magic word and were granted the superpowers to be on par with Superman, I'm sorry, I would have a smile on my face. Are you fucking kidding me? It's like the thing on Tumblr where they're like, if you were to wake up with any one wish to have, if you were to wake up and have one wish, what would it be? And someone goes, I'd have the powers to have Superman, and then someone goes, no, I would wish to have the money like Batman or blah blah blah. And someone commented, going, "I'm sorry, if I had the ability to wake up like Superman, what would I do? I would fucking be Superman. I would be as powerful as a demigod and fly around. I would quit work. I would be Superman full time. Like, don't even get me started. That was it for me. I could say Shazam, skip school, and fucking go be a superhero. Hell yeah! Like, and Zachary Levi did such a great job. Freddie was funny. I really enjoyed how they had that moment where they're like, "You have a very suspicious look on you," and he goes, "What do you mean? No, I don't." But if you take it back to when
Yes.
the car was thrown up in the air, and then Freddie shows up with the fucking camera on his helmet, he already looked like he was up to no good right then and there. Like, I'm sorry, he definitely looks like he's up to no good. So it was fucking hilarious to watch that. Um, yeah, I absolutely loved it. I think that it was interesting how we didn't even key on his name. He has no name for when he's a superhero. There's no name, which I think is interesting. And I'm wondering how they're going to spin this because in the comic book, depending on the iteration you're doing, which by the way, they're only taking certain elements from the New 52. Depending on the iteration that you read, there was a version where if he just says it, he turns. He can't just say it willy-nilly. That's why they gave him the name Captain Marvel. Because if he just, hey, what's your name? Shazam, all of a sudden, well, his secret identity, there it is. He's a kid. Like, he fucked up. He had to change his name on purpose. New 52 comes around. He has to say it with heroic intent to be a hero, intent to change. That changed it, changed the game up a little bit. But in this movie, it was very interesting because, yeah, there was a lot of times where there was intent to change. But there was one time where he didn't. Where he was just sitting there going, he goes, I don't know. The wizard just said, say my name. And he said Shazam. And then bam, he changed.
Bam.
He had no intent behind it. He just said it and he changed. So it begs the question, is it going to be like that and they give him a different name? Will they combat in the movie universe, combat Marvel and call him Captain Marvel? And be like, what? We can have two heroes within the name Captain Marvel. They're in different comic book realms. Why the hell not? Ha 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 ha. Like, it'll be interesting. I'm waiting to see what happens. Dr. Savannah. That was interesting and weird, but I enjoyed it. The fact that in the comic book, his only power is that he can see the magic and can cast spells. But in this movie, all of a sudden, he's got super strength and can fly. Like, and I'm like, whoa, wait, hold on. And another thing, due to the fact that he has the power of the deadly sins, he's able to walk into the Rock of Eternity. Whereas in the comic books, he's only able to see it. He can't have access. He needs the power of Shazam in order to go into it. That's the big reason why Black Adam and Shazam are able to walk into the Rock of Eternity, is because they have the powers. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there. So that was interesting. A lot of interesting nods to the comic books, like the doors that open to other realms. That was fun. Yeah, just a lot of. There was like, I felt like there's this level where you get to see certain aspects shown, but there's a lot of unanswered questions. But because it was such an entertaining movie and it was an origin story, it leaves you going, okay, what are they going to do in the sequel? Answer those questions, please. Because I'll say this. What I didn't like about Captain Marvel and Marvel Cinematic Universe was that she just focused and all of a sudden she's able to fly like crazy and blow through ships. Whereas in this movie, you can actually physically see him starting to learn how to fly. I appreciated that because even in Superman, he jumped really high and then started learning, but then failed and fucking hit the ground. And then when he hit the ground, he got up and he goes, no, wait, now I know how to do it. And then he did it. Like, but it took him a couple of times. That's what I would like to see more. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't hate one movie or another. I don't want the internet trying to cut my head off virtually, but I enjoyed that. So, yeah, for me, the movie was unanswered questions that I'm super excited to see if they're answered in the sequel. The movie did a fantastic job. It was a very family-oriented movie. I am willing to see it over and over and over again. 10 for 10. Mine Goddess, it is your turn.
Okay, so the biggest spoiler for me, since we're doing spoilers, I think the casting of Adam Brody as the adult version of what's his name? Oh my God, what's the kid actor's name? Jack something. Jack Razor? Jack something.
Are you talking about Freddy when he trained?
Freddy?
Yes, Freddy when he grows
Jack
up.
Razor, yeah.
That casting was perfect. I was
Perfect.
like, oh my God. So that
Oh my God.
They did a really good job with that. What else is there? I did notice that there were some things that were forced, and I was just like, did you really have to do it? Like the scene with the elevator, I was like, I get where you're going, and I know you're trying to like implicate even further that the bad guy gives zero fucks about his family, which is like the opposite of like the good guy. But it was just like, did you really like, we've established that already. So that felt a little forced. The fight scenes were understandably underwhelming.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I love the whole.
Like,
are you trying to give some evil speech right now? Because we're like a mile away.
Yeah. Oh my God, that killed me.
That was great. I'm talking more about like their first fight that they had together.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
a lot of people were complaining about how like the fight scenes were underwhelming, and I'm like, you realize that, like, yeah, he's very powerful, but this guy's a kid. He wasn't like a martial artist beforehand. He was an orphan. He gave zero fucks about superhero stuff and said, like, Freddy's the only one who knows about this superhero stuff. Like, so if they were like super elaborate fight scenes, I would have gotten really pissed, like understandably pissed off. I mean, because it's like, okay, all of a sudden he can fight? No. Yeah. So that being said, it's like, okay, yeah, the fight scenes were a little underwhelming, but I get it. They're like, there was intent for that. Zachary Levi did, like, he was born to play this, and I do have to give props to the fact that he has done both Marvel. He was a Marvel hero through Thor. He was a Disney prince through Tangled, and now he's a DC hero through Shazam. Yes. Like, that is like the fucking trifecta. Like, holy crap. That is amazing. So huge props to Zachary Levi. He knocked it out of the ballpark. Mark Strong did an amazing bad guy. And I do have to say one thing. Jumon Hanso is in fucking everything.
Right.
Like, the fact, I totally butchered his name, for one, but the fact that he was in
I was about to ask, is that how you pronounce it?
He could literally say, like, I was in Captain Marvel. Which one?
Which one?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is...
And then just go, yes.
Like, that, like, I think that's a bigger feat for me than anything.
I almost loved him more in his role in Shazam than in both Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, no, the first Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain Marvel as that character. I actually liked him more because we didn't get to see a whole lot of him as that character. I mean, Guardians, yeah, but in this role, he had a prominent role and a lot of really good lines. So
Yeah. Huge props to him because he is a fantastic actor.
Oh yeah, he's
yeah, really just great actor. But yeah, I will say that there were some scenes where you were just like, did you really have to do that? Like, we've already established some things. So like there were some moments that were a little forced, but there were some really great wholesome moments that I very much appreciated. However, I do wish, I know you mentioned this before, I do wish there was a little bit more of a blend between like Billy Batson and like Shazam Billy Batson as far as personality wise, because like yeah, he was a little broody at the beginning, but like once he got his powers, like I was kind of hoping that some of that excitement would show in younger Billy Batson.
Well,
and it did so much.
I'm sure he's trying to hide that because again, Freddy was mile high, and he's sitting there going, "Dude, shut up! I don't want people to know." You said it yourself. Superhero 101. If anybody finds out, fucking my family could be in danger. Said it yourself. So I feel like maybe that's why, but he was just trying to put up a facade, really. Because honestly, I think the only thing he cared about was getting the fuck out of class and becoming a superhero.
Yeah. I will say this though. Yeah, it overall just a really great movie. I wouldn't put it in top 3, but it was very much an enjoyable experience, and I would probably go back to the theater to watch it again for sure.
Woohoo! Single Dad, you're up.
Okay, so I already gave my rating of about a 7 out of 10. And what really killed it for me, and once I saw it, I couldn't. It could not be unseen on the 7 deadly sins. Whatever they were using, the combination of mocap and animatronics, and it just they didn't strike me as 7 deadly sins. I mean, obviously, I mean the part with envy being the little runt of the litter and everything like that made sense. But
gluttony.
And gluttony being
his chest opens up, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, aside from that, it was like, wait, no, you're supposed to have. I mean, if they're the 7 deadly sins, there should be part of them that is the representation of that sin. And whatever animation they were using, it just didn't work for me. So whenever I saw that, I was like, okay, cool.
If I may tag along to that, I didn't really get the 7 deadly sins connection until like near the end. So I'm kind of glad they brought it up. But yeah, like it was like
yeah. For me, it was more of I'm enjoying the fact that they've turned the 7 deadly sins into these interesting demon-like creatures that are supposed to both scare you because they're the 7 deadly sins, but at the same time entice you a little bit too. But ultimately, right. I will admit, like, I'm sitting here going, okay, gluttony, I get. That was a dead giveaway because his fucking chest and stomach open up to say, I'm going to fucking devour you. That made a lot of sense. Maybe anger was the big brute guy because he was the leader. I don't know. Like,
I did, and that's the thing is, I mean, they're supposed to be like these all-powerful forces that are supposed to cause all this havoc in the world and bring about the end of the world and create all this chaos. All they do is go around and bite people. I mean, they punch and bite people. I was like, okay, you've basically taken the 7 deadly sins and turned them into a bunch of shitty kindergartners.
So it was my understanding when I was watching the movie, of course, twice. My understanding is basically that the 7 deadly sins were stating we are not at full power. We need that Shazam power. We need the power of the wizard in order to do what we want because the wizard not only defeated us but cursed us, which is also represented in the comic books. But of course, to tag along with this quote unquote negative review, I would state that it wasn't well represented in the movie because unless you've read the comic book, you wouldn't know that.
Right. So yeah, I mean, there was that. I mean, Zach did a phenomenal job in portraying basically a 13, 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And then the whole backstory with his mom and everything like that with the
Yes.
I'm sorry, I am a parent. As soon as she didn't come back, I knew exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
knew
mean,
that from the beginning
you
too.
don't no. I'm sorry. You
So
don't do
I
that.
would like to say this is a weird way to say I loved this more, but I say this only in the sense that it makes it more relatable. Which we've said this before in multiple podcast episodes that there's certain things that we would look for in the comic book movies that we want to relate with. That to me is a way more relatable than the comic book origin. Now, listeners, if you're still listening to the spoiler review, let me tell you right now that the origin story of Billy Batson is that the tiger in the zoo gets out and eats his parents. And in the comic books, because the tiger's the only thing he has left, he's kind of got this reluctant kind of visit with the tiger and feeds the tiger bread and shit and burgers because this is the only thing. That's the reason why he leaves all these homes all the time and escapes all the time is because he wants to go visit the tiger because as demented as it is, it's the only connection he has left to his parents. It's really, but it's like that's an over the top. Like that's like when you find out how Green Arrow loses his parents or other characters like that. So it's just like, I'm sorry, what the fuck? Do you really
Yeah.
have to go over the top for this? Like seriously? But yeah, and I feel like in the movie, like yeah, it sucked. It made me want to cry when I found that out because my mom and I do not exactly have the best um, history together. But at the same time, I love my dad. Anyway, the point is that was relatable. I can see that being relatable to anybody who's an actual orphan. Not, my parents got mauled by this tiger, so now I go visit the tiger. It's not super relatable. That's over dramatic. So I gotta admit, I love that, but I can also see why someone would be like, "Fuck you."
And the reason I say that is because as you well know, I've got three little boys, and those of us that are parents, it's like, I'm sorry, there is nothing that is going wrong in my life so badly that I wouldn't want to have a part in my child's life. And nope.
Well, they do address the fact that she was 17 at the time. So there is a little bit of a frontal cortex problem, but when he goes back to see her, there should have been a different reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was just like, yeah, I abandoned you once before. What are you doing here? It's like there was no remorse, no feeling there whatsoever.
I mean, they tried to have like boyfriend in the background that you can tell she's kind of scared of, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, the whole parent thing.
She straight up told her son, "Well, you look like you're doing great, but I don't want to accept you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I could buy and be like, but yeah, I knew it happened from the beginning because
Yeah.
a parent is going to go find their child, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way a parent is not going to know where their child was for that long.
No. And then going back to what you were saying, being 17 or not or anything like that. As soon as he's at the door, you've got the crappy husband or the crappy ex-boyfriend. You've got the crappy current boyfriend and everything like that. At some point, you've got to step up and you've got to realize, guess what? I'm making some poor life choices. I'm making some really
absolutely. I had no remorse for her by that point,
and I've got to take responsibility for my actions. And the number one responsibility you have, especially as a parent, is that child.
Yeah. I'll put it this way, like I was never in the system myself, but I did have quite a few friends that were in that situation. And once there is that connection, like you find your biological parents or something like that, there is at the very least some sort of connection, like I acknowledge you kind of thing. So it was kind of interesting seeing that play out. And like honestly, I kind of wish I would have consulted my friends who had been in the system before about it, because it's like seeing that type of interaction, it kind of seemed unusual to me.
Well, now let's close this bad boy out. Cosplay Jenny, it's your turn to do.
Yeah, this conversation got really dark really fast. Can I just
Really
say,
dark,
like, oh
really
my god.
fast. And so
Well,
far
I mean, it was a very deep movie.
so far this episode's been really great. I don't think there's any editing, but we are looking at an hour and a half now. So let's play Jenny. Let's do this.
I enjoyed the movie, had a good time, watched a lot of movies. Yeah, talking really fast. No, I guess most of you guys have already said the pinpoints on what I mean. I enjoyed it, had a good time. I didn't know much about the comics other than what we had talked about on the podcast. It's not a comic I followed. So I didn't really know what they were going to do, and and so once like all the kids were involved, and I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. And now I have to cosplay Mary because she's now my favorite character ever.
Yeah, speaking of cosplaying, like I said before, this group is totally cosplaying all of, like, I don't care what color, I don't care if you pick a character, but we are totally doing a family Shazam cosplay.
I like purple. I have to. I keep saying I like purple.
You get to be
I
Darla.
say we make Jake wear the red dress.
You say what?
I say we make Jake wear the red dress.
Yeah.
As hilarious as that would be, I'm pretty sure Cosplay Jenny
Genevieve would
already
fight
has
you.
that on lock. Anyway, continue.
and so, as I said, I liked the background story, like the whole story with him and his mom disappearing and him trying to find her the whole time, and then this family coming in and the whole quotes of once they call it a home, that's when it's really a home. And he heard that, so of course that was his definite saying when he knew he was going to stay, that he was no longer leaving these people who, well, now he's stuck to. And his coming of age story, it was adorable, and I fell in love with that story aspect of it. And yes, it's a superhero movie, and I enjoyed of course the long distance fight monologue where nobody can hear each other, which cracked me up because only a kid would be like, what? What are we doing here?
I don't want to step on her review, but I have something that I forgot to mention, but I really want to mention it.
Go ahead.
When he was telling his brothers and sisters, like, say my name, and everyone goes, Billy!
Yes.
The whole theater
the name that turns me into this, say that name. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And then they did the joke again because he was on James Corden tonight, late with James Corden or whatever, and he goes, say my name and my powers will flow through you. She goes, Zachary, and he goes, no, man, the character I play. Anyway.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed the cuteness of it. Maybe that's my girly side, that I just love the storyline and that whole family and being together.
Can we all appreciate the fuck out of Darla?
Right?
Yes.
Dude.
Oh my
Right?
god.
She's like the
loved her.
cutest
I'm
kid
a good
ever.
sister.
Like, don't get me wrong.
I
I
can
love
spoil it. I'm the good sister.
Right?
Yes!
I absolutely loved Zachary Levi, Billy Batson as Shazam. He's always the big focus, but I had to admit, when they were having the big fight scene with everybody, Darla stole it for me, because it took her a minute or two, and then she learned all her powers, because she's having fun. She's all of a sudden, she's running along the fucking wheel, just grabbing everybody, going, nope, I'm doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that, doing this. And then fucking...
So she doesn't have, like, that anything holding her back.
I don't can...
Yes.
She is adorable. Like, everything about her, you just want to give her a hug.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She's talking
Oh my
to
god,
Santa.
Santa! Oh my god.
Oh my gosh,
friend,
yes.
it's Darla.
That's so
I loved
amazing.
it.
The
Anyway.
Santa, the repeating Santa over and over again cracked me up.
So
Oh, and I gotta say, like the last, like the credit scene was probably the best
The lunchroom.
Justice League movie ever. No, the in credit
No,
scene.
they're like the
with the
talking to
Aquaman
fish
thing?
thing.
So okay.
No, not
so-
Yes.
just the credits themselves as the credits were rolling and
Oh
it's
yeah.
Oh, the credits
I was
were
like, that's
yeah.
the best Justice League.
Can I just say I kind of want to recreate the Wonder Woman getting in the car with Shazam?
Yeah, oh my god.
That was funny.
I got you because I already do Billy, so we'll do this for sure.
Yes.
Yes. Last comment. I think this is interesting. Because again, he's getting into his powers. Obviously, that's how they're gonna do this with any comic book movie. He was trying to talk to Fish, and he was saying how it was lame and blah blah blah. But in the comic books, it's noted that through the wisdom of Solomon, he can actually speak and understand virtually any language. Alien, other country from other human beings, other animals. Technically speaking, Shazam can talk to fish. He may not. He cannot control fish like Aquaman can, but he can have a conversation with literally anything. Anything with a pulse, he can talk to it through the wisdom of Solomon. So that is an interesting fact to note. With that being said, we are an hour and a half into this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. I did not expect this to go as far as we did, but we did it. It's been fantastic. Please go see Shazam if you've listened to it for this long. And get ready for Endgame. The next week is Infinity War. Hoping we have the cast members for it. And after that, finally, we do Endgame.
Yay!
We will do it as best as we can humanly possible. I'm really hoping that my podcast mates can get themselves to the theaters on time to go see it. I just can't expect J4 to do it because he's deployed at the moment. But either way, thank you all for listening. I love you all so much. I'm going to go eat some fucking pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
This is Tom Cruise signing out with Cosplay Genemy, Mayan Goddess,
Whoop whoop whoop.
Single Dad Cosplay,
Deuces.
and, of course, in honor of J4, Toodles!
See ya.
Everybody have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.